Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the Super Retro-Cade by Retro-Bit. Let's get started. Alright, so the Super Retro-Cade is a retro system, and it is a brand new console that's going to be released holiday 2017 by Retro-Bit. Now, for those of you who don't know who Retro-Bit are, they are widely known throughout the retro gaming community. They do make a couple of good consoles called the Retro-Bit Duo and the Retro-Bit Trio. So you can see the Retro Trio here on Amazon. Basically Super Nintendo style controllers. It can play NES, it can play SNES, and it can play Sega Genesis. Now the Retro-Bit Duo can just play NES and SNES. They also have other systems available, and they also make controllers. However, you might most recently know them for the Retro-Bit Generations. Now, this was an interesting console because it was not the greatest success. So the Retro Duo and the Retro Trio are both regarded as fairly good consoles. They're, retro consoles, they play physical games, whereas the Retro-Bit Generations plays more or less just ROMs. And yes, you can hack the Retro-Bit Generations, but just for the record, it did not go over the greatest with gaming fans. There were hit and miss based on quality and also on the actual strength of the emulation of some games. Some games did not run the greatest on this machine. So with this Super Retro-Cade that's coming out holiday 2017, they're stating it is going to cost $59.99, and it's going to have over 90 popular retro games from Capcom, Data East, and others included. So you can see here this collection includes fan favorites such as Mega Man 2, Joe and Mac, Bad Dudes, Strider, Burger Time, Ghost and Goblins, Final Fight, and more. Take control of the intuitive user interface with two wired 10 feet controllers compatible with also your PC and Mac. Ditch the quarters and revisit the arcade with Retro-Bit. So they haven't announced a lot of details on this yet. They've announced a handful of games here. You can see they've announced roughly 15 games for it out of the 90. Now, what this includes, it's got intuitive user interface. So I'm not sure why they're highlighting this. It's just the menu that's selecting the games. I'm hoping it's going to be intuitive. I mean, in this day and age, having a convoluted menu system probably isn't the greatest thing. Save states. So it says here you can pick up the action where you left off with this built-in feature. Want to transfer your progress? The SD card slot allows you even more ways to save. Controllers included. Play your favorite two-player games with the included 10-foot Super Retro controllers. The 6-button USB controllers are also compatible with your Mac and PC. So if we flip over to their controllers, they are actually just a different color variant of the Super Retro wired controller. So with this Super Retro-Cade, you can see here they are red and white, and the standard one is black. Now, these controllers are really hit and miss with quality. Sometimes people have stated button responsiveness, input lag, just issues overall with the controller, and then some people have reported them as being great. The controllers here are $6.99 each, so it's $7, $14 for two, which brings the price of the system down to about $46. So you're paying about $14 for the controllers, which brings it up to the $60. So that's actually not too bad considering you get 90 games. Now, one thing I did notice about these games, I noticed that some of these games are also offered on the Retro 8-Bit Generations. So if I scroll down here to the games included in the Retro-Bit Generations, you can see here 1943, Captain Commando, and I'll flip back to the Super Retro-Cade and I see 1943 here. I see Captain Commando here. So there will probably be some overlap in terms of games between the two. And one thing that does alarm me a little bit is the actual system looks just to be a reskinned variant of the previous retro bit generations. So that is about it for the information that we have so far. My overall thoughts on the Super Retro-Cade, it's really hard to tell right now. I really just wanted to get this out there to highlight it because, as always, I think it's very good that they're Retrobit and other companies still come out with things for the retro gaming community and are keeping it alive. I guess there is a high demand for retro games. A lot of people still like them, myself included. So it's always good and cool to see new things coming into the retro community. However, I am very concerned that this is simply a reskinned Retrobit Generations. I mean, it looks completely identical aside from the color to the Retrobit Generations. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, hoping that they have learned from their mistakes on the Retrobit Generations, maybe tweaked it a little bit and made it better that way. If it is just a reskinned Retrobit Generations, then I'm not sure what to think at this point. I think I will be a little disappointed. But at the same time, the Retrobit Generations is hackable and you can add your own custom ROMs onto it. So I'm assuming this one will probably follow suit as well. That's all I've got for today. Please let me know what you think about this in the comments. When I find out more details, I'll provide them. But that's about it. So please check out my other videos. Please hit that subscribe button. Thank you, everyone. Take care.